Do you want to be made well? Why would he ask a question like that? It would seem obvious that he does. He's there by the pool of Bethesda. Why would Jesus ask the question? Why would he say, do you want to be made well? And there are a variety of reasons and things that we could postulate, but I suspect that part of it would be that maybe this man had been in this condition for some time and had actually gotten used to it. And maybe being in this particular condition for 38 years, growing up on a mat, unable to walk, has pretty much limited your exposure to other things. Hope is a good thing to have. But sometimes hope is all people have because they don't really experience the substance of that hope. They don't have that expectation ever fully realized in their life, so they basically live with a vague kind of hope. But as they're living in that vague kind of hope that maybe someday my ship will arrive, things are going to turn, everything will be better, in the midst of all of that, you get kind of used to it because you've got people in your life who pretty much have accommodated you in that condition, and that has formed the substance of who you are. That just is who I am. I've always been this way. I've always had people who are in my life who do these things, give me excuses for being this way and all. And that's just kind of how it is. So when the Lord Jesus Christ asks the question, do you want to be made well? That's a pretty powerful question because some people actually, though they may voice that they would like to be better or different, in reality, they're pretty used to being what they are and would be afraid of being anything else. Because their life has been basically been established as an identity of a person in this particular need. And people know me this way. And are you saying to me that there's a possibility of me really being something other than what I am right now? Well, I'm not quite sure whether or not I would actually embrace that 100% and say I could fully commit myself to that proposition. Because frankly, what does that entail in terms of changes that will take place in my life? Because if I am made well, it's going to make me a new, entirely different person, and I'm not quite sure whether I'm ready for that kind of change. There are a lot of people who on the one hand would say, I'd like God to touch my life, but on the other they say, but I'm afraid to let him because I don't know what he's going to do with me once he has. Do you want to be made well? Some people, because of the lack of affection and lack of attention, the lack of love, the lack of so much in their life, have basically grown up not expecting a whole lot from others. And when somebody actually does something kind in their life, it's a surprise to them, and they don't even know how to respond to it. Because all of their life has been in just a certain way, doing a certain thing, and their whole identity is based on the fact that I can't walk. Their whole identity is based on the fact that I am crippled in this fashion, and they even get to the point where they can make excuses and even explanations as to why that is true. Notice verse 7. Because in verse 7 he says, the sick man answered him, Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, but while I am coming, another steps down before me. I have a built-in explanation as to why I have remained in this condition. I have no one to help me. It's somebody else's fault. If I had somebody who could help me, then I could change, but I don't have anybody to help me, and therefore I remain the same. It seems to me in some ways that he might have gotten used to that condition. It's interesting how he had the faith, a superstitious faith, at least it's apparent, that he could be healed according to the superstitious beliefs of his day. But the fact is he needs to get away from that so that he can put his faith in the one who can actually heal him. There's a need on my part, a need on our part, if we want to have a healing from the Lord. There has to be a longing, an intense longing for his touch. There has to be this willingness in my life to release those things that are holding me back if I'm going to actually be touched by the Lord. And this guy here is basically saying, I can't help myself. I'm totally discouraged. I have no one to help me. And in reality, he doesn't understand that he can be changed. Because even at that point where he is in his most helpless and hopeless position, that can be the place where God is going to minister to him with most power. In Psalm 27:10, the psalmist said, when my father and my mother forsake me, then the Lord will take care of me. I'm actually in a good place when there's nobody to help me, because that'll cause me to turn my eyes to the one who can. And so, Lord, yes, I would like to be healed. Yes, I would like to walk. Yes, I would like to stand. I'd like to do those things. I'd like to be able to be healed. In reality, I'd like to. But there are a lot of us who have gotten used to making excuses to remain exactly what we are. And I am not one who would stand up here and try and knock down somebody's excuses with, to hurt somebody's feelings. But the fact is, I realized in my own life that if I was going to be made well, I had to stop looking at other people and blaming them and their inability to help me. And I had to come to the point of realizing that there's nobody who could help me outside of God, and therefore I need Him and not just men. Our men's retreat, the Lord is doing a wonderful thing there. I have had a great opportunity to spend some time with the guys, and it's great. I mean, we have almost 400 guys, and it's nice to get away with them and to speak with them and share with them and to have one-on-one conversations, which I very rarely ever have opportunity anymore to have. And so I love the men's retreats because I have a chance to sit down with the guys and eat with them and visit with them and talk to them and minister to them and hear them and all of that. And so we had a great time this weekend as we were doing that. And even as I was there, I spoke to several men, and I started noticing something, and that is that many of us, before we get well, many of us already have reasons why we are this way, and we can explain it to you. We can tell you, this is why I'm this way. If there's anything that Sigmund Freud added to American culture, it's our ability to blame our parents. It's our ability to say, I can give you every reason why I'm this way, socially and economically and ethnically and religiously, and I can give you explanation after explanation, and I can tell you why I'm this way. You see, my dad never held me, my mom didn't potty train me, and I can give you a variety of ways as to why I am this way, and I can excuse my behavior by blaming everybody except myself. I get to the point where I can say, you know what, if I'd had a better education, if I'd have grown up in a better neighborhood, if my dad would have taken me and played catch with me once in a while, if somebody would have said, well done, great job, son, and I can do that. Everybody can do that. You see, the fact is, all of us are imperfect, raised by imperfect people. And people say, oh, you're from a dysfunctional family. Everybody's from a dysfunctional family. A perfect father still has dysfunctional children. God had Adam and Eve. End of story. Perfect father, messed up kids. And all we are is just the product of people who did the best they could with the tools they had. Instead of blaming my dad for never holding me, instead of saying, Dad should have played catch with me once in a while or come to one of my Little League games, and why couldn't he have been an encouragement instead of always beating me down? Or why did my dad have to leave me when I was 6 years old? I don't even know what it means to be a man. How come the Lord let my dad die when I was 12? I was raised with a mom who was bitter towards God. I don't have any idea what it means to be what I am. Instead of doing that, I can say, God, here am I. I'm crippled. Can you please heal me? I need a new life. And Jesus speaks to you and He says to you, do you want to be made well? And I've got 57,000 reasons why it's not possible for me to change. It's the truth. And I was talking to fellas, and I've done this for many years. I've been in the ministry over 34 years, and I can tell you this. I've had many, many, many conversations over the years. It comes down to one question. And I've asked this question in various forums every time I preach. Do you want to be made well? That's the heart of preaching. That's the heart of preaching. Do you want to be made well? Or do you want to have more excuses to remain what you are? It's up to you. See, when Jesus is speaking to this man, that's a tough question to actually honestly answer. And that's why you see the guy kind of moving back and forth with the question. The question is, do you want to? But you see, I'm in 38 years condition of being conditioned into this. My life consists of a mat that's 4 feet wide and 6 feet long. That's my life. That's my neighborhood. You talk about your neighborhood? My neighborhood is 4 by 6. I can't even get here without somebody carrying me. I can't do anything for myself. I have relied on people from the time I was an infant, and for 38 solid years, I have lived on this mat. And you're telling me that I could actually get off this mat and walk? I'm not quite sure whether I believe that. I'm not quite sure whether that's actually possible. I am conditioned to a small space. I'm not quite sure. You're saying, do I want to walk?